Hey guys, it's Byron, and let's avoid any of that overdrawn intro today and get right to the main topic. I had the SD Red Stray model kit, and if you've ever seen what it looks like before you paint it, it's not a pretty sight, so I decided to paint it. Now, I've never really painted my model kits before, and I don't have the money or the space or resources for an air spray painter majig, so I just used Gundam Markers. And if you have any critiques or any helpful pointers for painting with Gundam Markers in the future, I would appreciate any constructive criticism down in the comments below, but let's get into the paint. Now, I already had the model completed, so the first thing I had to do was take the model apart so I could paint the parts that needed to be painted. Now that I had the model disassembled, I started using masking tape to block off all the spots I didn't want to paint on the shield, because I was trying to get that nice black color down for the inner parts of the shield, and I didn't want to get the black paint all over the parts that needed to be either white or red. Now at first I thought it'd be best to just try to cut the pieces of tape off on the roll and put it onto the shield, but I found that to be kind of annoying and hard to get the tape off. But I soon came to realize that just tearing off a larger piece of tape and cutting it on the table and then placing it on the shield was much easier to do and less time consuming, and I feel like I was able to get more precise pieces of tape needed for the shield. When it finally came time to paint, I had to use this Gundam marker for the first time. I had used markers in the past for panel lining, but never to paint large areas on a model, so my technique has a little bit to be desired. Next, I started something I was a little more familiar with. I decided to use this marker that I normally use to panel line to fill in some of the details on the green camera sensor thing on Red Frame's head, just to add a bit more detail. And I would use my thumb to help clean up any excess paint that got where it shouldn't be. Next came painting all the spots that need painted on the helmet head area of Red Frame. That includes all the panel lining, and I painted in the little air intake things on the cheeks just to add a bit more detail and to make the bottle look a little bit more interesting. Next came cutting tape to cover up the head as I filled in the crevices black. Now came cutting tape for the back half of the head, where I made it match the front half. I also used this time to fill in any other blank areas that I felt would make sense to be colored black, like the back part, those cheek vents from the front half of the build. I decided it didn't really make sense to use the sticker that's just a green rectangle when I have a green marker that could give a better, more convincing effect, as will be shown in the final product. Next came panel lining the feet to add additional detail. Then I panel lined the arms to add additional detail there. Then I panel lined the shoulders. I felt like all this panel lining really helped break up the monotony of the build. Since SD Gundams are so small, it kind of makes it all just feel like one piece of plastic, even though it's multiple. Then I took the other black Gundam marker to help fill in the shoulder vents on the back. Now it was time to panel line and fill in a lot of those blank spots on the torso, waist area. And I felt like this was one of the things that needed it the most. The gun and it really made the gun pop and not just look like one piece of plastic, but more so an actual weapon. After waiting for over an hour, I decided to take all the tape off the shield and fill in any spots that I missed the first time or needed additional paint. While the fresh paint on the shield dried, I went around to the other parts where I had put tape and took all the tape off to examine my work and see if I did any other touch-ups. I hadn't put the tape as flush with the model as I had preferred, so I used the Gundam Marker eraser here to help remove any excess paint. I then used the Gundam Marker eraser to help clean up the shield and get any of that excess black off the parts that could be white or red. Then I used the Gundam Marker eraser on the front half of the head's armor to clean that up as well. I then decided if I was going to take the back of the head sensor sticker off, I might as well do the same with the waist stickers. I then used my red Gundam marker to paint the areas where the stickers had previously been. I then prepared more tape to use for the shield so I could paint the red areas of the shield next. Now with the shield properly taped off, it was time to add the red highlights to Red Frame's shield. Now using my perfect grade red frame as a reference, I painted the legs of this SD red frame. At this point, I used my clear gloss Gundam marker to make the back sensor on the head pop a little bit more and be a little bit more shiny, which I felt was a more convincing effect than it just being plain, and I felt like this would help the paint stay. At this point, I realized I had forgot to panel line the chest area of Red Frame, so I did so with my extra thin black Gundam marker. Now it became the time I slowly started to reassemble my model kit. While reassembling, I decided to panel line things such as the arms and legs that I may have missed earlier because I wasn't thinking about it. Next, it came time to remove the tape on Red Frame's shield to observe my handiwork. Next, I used my clear matte Gundam marker on the waist red spots because I felt like since they were armor, they might be less shiny than something like a sensor camera. Now with the shield completed, it came for final reassembly. Next, I put the clear matte marker on the shield as well, but I feel like I didn't do as good of a job as I'd had on the torso or the rear camera due to the shield's more rounded shape, so it's something I'll have to work on in future projects. Overall, for my first time using Gundam markers and painting a model kit, I feel like I did a pretty good job for a first try. I feel like I was able to really highlight a lot of the detail on this small kit, and it really made me appreciate SD kits a bit more. I had originally only bought this set because I really loved the Astray series, so I really wanted to have a red frame of each size, which I currently do have, if you don't count real grade. And here is another picture of once I was done and the completed project at a different angle. As you can see, it looks pretty good, but some of the spots where the colors meet on the shield could be improved in future projects. And since I did use the perfect grade as my reference for things like the shield, you can see that the color is slightly different from my high grade, but that's probably more due to high grade's poor color separation. I am not quite sure. But that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Iron Dragon King, and I'll see you guys next time in the next video. Bye bye.